Hello, hello, hello. We are talking about heavy weather by Weather Report. Now, somebody requested this, so we'll do it. Jazz, jazz, and the F word, fusion, jazz fusion. Oh my goodness. Heavy Weather is the seventh album by Weather Report, led by Joe Zawinul. Again, it's probably the best known of their albums. I think it's the one that sold the most. And it features, blimey, some great players on there. Not only is there Joe Zawinul on keyboards, you've got Wayne Shorter on sax, the bass legend that is Jaco Pastorius, Alex Acuna on drums, and Manolo Badina on tambourine. There you go. On percussion, assorted percussion. So yeah, this was requested. Now again, I haven't heard this album for a long time. It's one of those records where, you know, I'd forgotten I'd heard it. I'd forgotten I knew it. And then I pulled it up and went, I know this one. As soon as the opening track, Birdland, which is probably, I think that's probably the most best known. It's probably the most well-known Weather Report track. It's become a bit of a jazz standard, isn't it, really? It's moved into the parlance of the jazz. And yeah, it's a peppy little number written by Joe Zawinul. It's got, saxophone all over it. And I know it sounds odd, but I always think of Cagney and Lacey whenever I hear it. I know they don't sound. I think it just goes back to when TV shows used to use an awful lot of saxophone, kind of peppy saxophone stuff. And so yeah, I mean, Birdland opens it up, and it's again, it's a classic track, and it shows everybody off. Second track, Remark You Made. This is sexy time jazz. It's the sort of thing that you play, you put on the record player when you're trying to undo your girlfriend's bra. Possibly. They slow things down a bit. Third track, Teen Town. It's Jaco Pastorius doing one of his own pieces, and again, he gets to show off his bass playing. Again, it's not. You don't really want to draw comparisons, but when you hear him doing his thing, I think of Jeff Berlin, Percy Jones. Percy Jones hates the comparison, but if you are familiar with those players via Brand X or Bruford, you can hear, like the jazz side of things. You've got the rock jazz over there, and you've got it over here. So yeah, Pastorius is very important. You've got Harlequin. Rumba Mama is the only thing on it that I don't really understand why it's there. It's a live track, and I've never understood why it's on there, but it's there. It's a distraction. That's on side, would have been side 2, but I streamed it. Palladium's all right. The Juggler. Now this is the interesting one. Again, it's a Zawinul piece. The Juggler is probably the most proggy thing on the collection. It's a delightful little track, and there's some nice keyboard phrasing. There's like a little keyboard tune that, again, another. It feels like it could be a bit of a proggy thing, and I don't know why. It just reminds me of other bands, and it's a good one. I like that. I like that one. It's probably that and Birdland. Again, Teen Town's good as well, but it's my favourite, and it rounds off with Havana, which is a Pastorius track, and yeah, it's a big bold ending to the album. Again, it's not all for me because I am not a jazz fan, but I appreciate it from the playing side of things. And I came to this after listening to Bill Bruford, his albums, and not that I don't know if you can really draw comparisons between the two. Again, I think Bruford might be annoyed if I did that, but listening to Bruford kind of got me prepared for listening to this kind of thing. It's like, because I could recognise, some of the phrasings. It's shared a similar language, especially in the bass, in the bass end, as it were, via Pastorius again is a bit of a tragic figure. Do look up what happened to him. There's a very good. I remember watching a good documentary about him once, which was fascinating. Again, somebody who pushed forward the bass guitar as an instrument, but deeply troubled soul, especially at the end of his days. Fretless bass, made the fretless bass his own. There's some great stuff. There's some great stuff on YouTube where you're seeing him improvising with a looping. It's fascinating, great stuff. So yeah, what do I think? Yeah, I mean, it's again, if you're in the mood for some jazz, for some cool sounds, if you want to hear some great playing, this is it. But again, it does kind of venture just because of the production and some of the musical choices, because you got that very very evident saxophone and synthesizer stuff going on. That you do feel like you're wandering into easy listening, but it's not, because it's these are all consummate players. It's but if you want like the top album from Weather Report, this is it. This is the go-to. If you want an easy introduction, this is the one that's going to kind of, I think, gives a very fair summation of what or who or what Weather Report was. Yeah. So that's it. I've reviewed Weather Report. What? This is crazy. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I was just surprised that I remembered it so well, because I haven't heard this for, I don't know, what year is it? 25, I don't know, maybe 30 years. I think it was in the 90s I heard it. Yeah, so it was funny, because I thought that I hadn't heard it, and then I listened to it and I went, oh, I've heard it. Because I think I've listened to too many albums. It's that thing where you go, have I? Haven't I? I do not know. So yeah, that's it. If you've never checked out any Weather Report, and again, if you're in the prog end, if you're at the prog end and you've never explored any of this stuff, one of Weather Report's drummers was Chester Thompson, who went on, was with Genesis, because Phil Collins had listened to, he was a big fan of Weather Report and heard him, and that's how he got the gig. See? So there is a prog jazz crossover. And of course, of Joe Zawinul himself, his name, it was used by Brian Eno on Another Green World. So there you go, as a tribute. So they have their fans in the other world, as it were. So there it is. So yeah, it's, you don't have to feel too dirty. You don't have to feel too ashamed of yourself if you listen to this album by Weather Report, even though it's jazz with an F. Fusion. We don't like to use the F word. So there you go, that's my review. A thoroughly enjoyable listen. I enjoyed it. And like I said, Birdland, I think, again, I won't be surprised if you've not heard the album, you may be familiar with that track, because it is become a standard. It's one of those tracks that you will know that the hook line. So there you go. Go and check it out. And that's my review. Thank you for the person who suggested it. You see, I can do this. I can do suggestions. Ain't I good? Yeah, ain't I a good lad? So yeah, I was talking about Weather Report and Heavy Weather, and that was released March 1977. 1977. God, that was a long time ago. I was merely 6 years old when this originally came out, and it's nice because it comes in at a nice 37 minutes 50 seconds, which is just the ideal length of time for the dog walk on which I listened to it last night. So there you go. So yeah, there you go. Give it a listen. I enjoyed it, and you might enjoy it too. That's it. That's it. It's done. There's only one more thing left to say. By now, you know what that is, and that is PROG on.